What if I told you that reality doesn't change because of what you want, but instead it changes because of the emotional states that you feel from? This is the real secret. Feelings are like frequencies, and the state that you live in determines the reality that you experience. The good news is, if you can copy and embody the right feeling states, which I'm going to talk about in this video and anybody can learn to do, then you can transform your life to reflect that state that you desire. And before we dive in, if you haven't already, I want to remind you, if you're on your own path of awakening and manifestation, then make sure to sign up for my newsletter using the link below. You'll get instant access to one of my popular guided meditations and you can join our growing community. So with that, let's get started. Okay, so to start this whole conversation, feeling states, right? So Neville Goddard said it best, the feeling is the secret. It truly is. But most people misunderstand this, like the feeling, what do you mean? They think it's about like chasing certain high emotions or, always being in a state of like really high happiness or excitement. But it's not about that. It's not about chasing after something. It's about embodying a state right now in the present moment of the feeling that embodies what you want to bring into your life. A really stable, just inner knowing, an inner peace with that emotion. And that is an incredibly, incredibly powerful thing. Because when you live from the state of feeling, this feeling state of having what you desire, then it becomes who you are. And once it's who you are, then everything on the outside in this 3D world has no choice but to reflect that back to you. And if we take this even a step further, and this isn't the point of this video, but I talk about it in other videos, once you embody within what you really desire, that's it. I mean, if things come to pass and your present world changes, that's awesome. But I think you'll find this to be true in your life. I found it to be true in mine. Once you give yourself internally what you're searching for in this crazy world externally, then a lot of times that desire for the external things actually sort of fades away, it subsides. But that's for another day. The point is you want to manifest certain things. So let's talk now about that emotion and how you can further harness this to manifest what you want. So now let's talk about some of these specific feeling states. Like, what am I talking about here, right? So emotions, feeling states. I'm going to say just a few words. And when I say the word, I want you to feel what comes up for you. So the first word is fulfillment, being fulfilled. So often when we want to manifest something, it's because we think it's going to give us this feeling of fulfillment. So you want that promotion at work, right? Well, why is it? You feel fulfilled, you feel appreciated, and everyone now recognizes the great work that you're doing. So there's this deep sense of fulfillment and this quiet inner satisfaction. But fulfillment, that's a really powerful feeling state to come from. It's not striving, it's not hoping, it's just knowing that, wow, I feel so fulfilled and so grateful. The second word is this, confidence. Think of a moment in your life when you've just been extraordinarily confident and you've operated from that feeling state of confidence. How does that feel? Imagine yourself, maybe you love to do public speaking, I don't know, maybe there's a few of you out there. I think it's sort of fun, but if that's what you love doing, you probably feel really confident when you stand in front of a room of a ton of people and you're about to deliver some kind of speech. You might feel really confident because you really know your material, you really know what you're talking about, and you're just happy to share it with everybody. Now, maybe you're on the other side of the spectrum and that just like brings up fear. You do not want to do that. Well, that's fine, but I'm sure there's something in your life where you feel really confident. And it could be, being a parent. It could be being a friend. Just whatever role in your life where you feel really confident. How does that make you feel? And think of what that feeling feels like when you feel confident. Now, another feeling state is this, peaceful. Imagine a recent moment where you've just felt really peaceful. Maybe it was on the weekend, you went to the beach and it was just so relaxing. Or maybe you went outside for a walk in nature, a walk in the park. Think of the last time when you really just felt at peace. And that's another feeling state. So being at peace, feeling peaceful, what does that bring up for you? Now, the reason I brought up these three was just to give you an example of when I'm talking about feeling states, what I'm talking about. Now, most likely, whatever you want to manifest in your life, it's going to sort of pick up on many of these different things. You're not just going to feel peaceful. Maybe you'll feel, peaceful, you'll feel confident, you'll feel all of these at once along with others. The point is that feeling is what we want to tap into. Again, using the example of you get the job you've always wanted. You likely feel very appreciated. You likely feel very confident, like, wow, I did it. You likely feel now more peaceful. Now you can relax. You can be done with LinkedIn for a while. You got the job, you're ready to go. The point is, there's such power in these feeling states. And the more we can learn to tap into them, the more powerfully we can use them as tools. But first we have to reverse engineer it. We have to go from what do you want to manifest? Because ultimately it's about not so much the manifestation, but it's really about what do we think that manifestation is going to make us feel? And look at your own life. Like, I guarantee you, whatever you want to bring into your life, money, love, relationships, success, whatever, it's about how it's going to make you feel. So we can reverse engineer that by, once you know what you want, we then say, what are the emotions associated with having that thing in your life? And now we focus on having those emotions, being in those feeling states right now. So again, as a really quick recap, how do you do this? One, identify what you want, and then think of that feeling state, as I just went over really briefly. So if you want wealth, why do you want to be wealthy? For many people, I think it's the feeling of freedom. It's the feeling of security. We want to have a lot of money, not because we just want to look in our bank account and think, wow, look at all those zeros. It's because we think having a lot of money will give us a feeling of security. It'll give us a feeling of peace. It will, maybe enable us to help others. Maybe it's all about helping others, and having that money, those resources will amplify what you can do for others. The thing is, it's always about that emotion, that emotional state that we want to acquire through acquiring some scenario. So start with what you want, and then think about what are the emotions that you hope to gain from having that experience, from having that thing in your life. And the next step is now, once you've distilled that down, and maybe it's 2 or 3, maybe it's 4 or 5, like different emotions tied to that one thing. Maybe it's a relationship. It's like you feel appreciated and understood and loved and safe, secure, all these things. Once you've reversed engineered it in this way, now learn to give yourself in the present moment those emotions and that feeling, and be in those emotional states, those feeling states right now. And then repeat this daily. Make this an exercise where you write down what you want and you bring yourself back into that emotional state. And another really powerful, actually the most powerful time to do this is right before sleep. And I'm going to link somewhere here to a recent video I did talking about this and how you can essentially put together a little scene, a little movie scene. And you can just replay this in your mind right before you go to bed, just as you drift off to sleep. That's a really powerful thing. I'm going to link it here. But again, you want to repeat this daily, and you want to start living in those emotional states of having what you desire right now. Because again, it's always about, and we don't realize this, but it's always about the emotions that we think we're going to gain from having something. We're chasing after all these external things. Why? Because we think that these external things are going to give us a certain emotion. And when you really look at this on a deep level, that's really what it's all about. And something really cool happens when you can learn to implement this and you start embodying that state. Really what happens is you're operating from a different frequency of yourself. When you're giving yourself internally what you're hoping to gain in the external world, then paradoxically, that's when it can actually show up in your life. This is another thing people don't realize, and even myself, this confused me for a long time, but the universe will only give you what you already give yourself. So in a sense, again, the relationship, you want this amazing relationship. Well, give yourself the emotions right now that you hope to gain from that relationship. Make yourself feel loved, appreciated, seen, heard, understood, secure, all these things. Because when you come from that place of completeness, then, again, it's a bit of a paradox, but then the universe will give you that thing. You can't have it until you already have it internally. So this is really the beauty of all this, that when you can learn to operate from these emotional states, then life reorganizes itself around the states. Again, everything is you pushed out. So you reorganize yourself and give yourself internally what you want. Now externally, you're gonna find it everywhere, most likely. Again, your job is not to force the outside to change. Your job is to simply focus on the feeling states. Once you know what you want and you know the feelings, just focus on that. And that's the cool thing. You don't have to have it all figured out. That's another beauty to this technique or this lifestyle, is that you don't have to figure out exactly how to get from A to B. You're going to have to take action, but it's a really beautiful thing. When you operate from that place, you're aligned, you're in the feeling state, you feel that you have it right now, you'll be amazed at what the universe does, this bridge of incidents, as Noah Goddard talks about, and how you will be brought from your present reality to where you want to go. So here's the takeaway. Don't struggle to make all these things happen in your life. Don't obsess over the mechanics of how am I going to get from where I am to where I want to go. Instead, just know what you want, know the associated feeling states that you hope to gain by having those things, and now just live from them right now. Give yourself that feeling or those feelings right now in the present moment. Because once you do, I promise you, your external world is going to start to shift in just absolutely amazing ways. And you may also find, as I have, that the more that you give yourself internally, whatever you're, searching for out in the world, the more that you don't really care whether that thing shows up in your life or not. And very often you might find that you don't even really want or need it anymore. But again, maybe that will resonate with some of you, but for now you're having fun with the manifestation stuff. I don't want to ruin that because it's really cool. But essentially, once you make these changes and live from these feeling states, your external world will then transform to match this inner shift. So it's a really cool and beautiful thing. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.